Greetings, students taking Dr. Garrett Dicker's Family, Schools, and Communities class this summer. Dr. Garrett Dickers had asked me to record a small video to present to you all regarding my thoughts about how Joyce Epstein's work applies to the college environment, as there are some college-focused individuals in the course for the summer. So without further ado, I was interested in looking at parental involvement in terms of higher education because of my potential dissertation topic from the onset. One of the things that Dr. Garrett Dickers said when she and I started talking was looking at Joyce Epstein as one of the premier and pinnacle scholars in this area. Because I was looking for some foundational theories and foundational theorists, and Joyce Epstein's work really rose as one of those people that sets the stage for the K through 12 involvement of parents in the child's education. So it was a perfect place for me to begin to get my understanding. Her book, School, Family, and Community Partnerships, Preparing Educators and Improving Schools, was just an excellent place to start. So what Epstein proposed is that parents are really critical in the education of their children, and that's for a couple of reasons. One, she states that the goal for getting parents involved is to promote respect, trust, appreciation, and collaboration between and among all adults who influence children's lives and learning. And that doesn't just extend to parents, that extends to educators, whether it's K through 12, college, post-college, etc. Any adult who's going to work with children being integral in terms of their education. And this is supported by Michael Fullen when he talks, he's asserted this, that the closer the parent is to the education of the child, the greater the impact on child development and educational achievement, in that parents are critical, again, in helping children as their first educators and teachers. But we have to understand that students have multiple identities, and one is that they are family members in the home. Second, they are students in the schools. And lastly, they are citizens in the community. And it's important to really understand the multiple personas and concepts that each individual student is role they play. So one of the challenges as we look in a college level environment, and I've got 18 years working in higher education environment, postgraduate work, when we hear the term parental involvement, as college administrators, we start to think about all the negative stereotypes and connotations that we hear from colleagues, that we like to share stories and anecdotes about how we've got we can top that story with another parental story. But we think about helicopter parents, and those are called helicopter parents because they've tended to hover around their students, and because of that they were termed as helicopter parents. Then we've got the stealth bomber parents, and those are the parents that are a little more aggressive than helicopter parents. They swoop in, they create a bit of a stir, they essentially drop a bomb, and then they get out of there before anybody can do anything, and they let the college administrators handle the aftermath. Then we've got the lawnmower parents, and we joke around that these are the parents that level the playing field for their child so that no one gets special attention, everyone is treated the same, and their child may rise to the top, but essentially the grass is cut all to the same level to make room for their child. Second part of that is that as college administrators, we tend to think we know best in all situations because we went to college to work at colleges, and we think we know everything. But in many cases, we're not really sure how to involve parents, so we tend to exclude them. And when parents get to the gates of the college, the gates are typically closed for access to them to continue their involvement with their children's education. So one of the things that we need to understand is that parents from the onset of the child's birth are the primary caregiver to their students, so they are their first teachers. So in that, they have a vested interest in the success of their child. And some of us may be saying, well, no kidding, John, duh, but it's really important to understand the mentality and logic of the parents. We also have to understand that a college degree, and sometimes more than just a basic bachelor's degree, is needed to get a good job. So we can expect to see more students attending college in the future because that's one of those gateways to lucrative employment. So more students is going to equal more parents. And more parents means more potential for parental involvement. So we have to keep that in mind. Lastly, not all parents are equal. Some have college education, some have no experience in college, and we run the gamut in terms of who we work with in terms of population, so we need to be aware and understanding that sometimes we're going to explain more to some parents than we are to others, and sometimes we're going to navigate processes with parents more so than with others. So some of my takeaways for this is I assert that we need to blur the lines between K through 12 and college, and that's going to go with Epstein's overlapping spheres of influence, that the idea that students are influenced through their interactions within the schools, within the family, within the community, and that no one of these identities or factors is going to always dominate over all the others. So we have to understand there's no absolute compartmentalization. We cannot expect a student to only be a student. We can't expect them to only be a member of the family, and we can't expect them to only be a member of a community. So this is a very holistic viewpoint. We have to look at the total student as a complete package in all these various identities, because we can't flip a switch that says you get to be this today, this tomorrow, and the other the day afterwards. So we've got to understand that these lines are fluid between. We also look at Bandura's concept of self-efficacy, and this outlines that a person has the skills to do something, they have the ability to those skills, and then they are supported in employing those skills, getting a successful outcome. So if we look at that and increasing our self-efficacy from low to high, if a teacher possesses high efficacy levels, they're more prone to involve parents in the education of the child. So in turn, if we as university administrators have high levels of self-efficacy, we are more likely to involve parents as well. So we have to increase our skills, be more comfortable with them in order to feel more comfortable involving parents. Lastly, there is what's called the school-like families and family-like schools. And school-like families are those families that utilize and incorporate methods in the home environment that they would in the teaching environment to further educate the children. Family-like schools are schools where we are making the school environment more familial-like and making them the students feel a little more included in their education and more included as members of a community. So one of those questions we ask is, how can we be more family-like versus building those walls to keep parents out? So these are some challenging things to be considering as you're looking at the college environment transitioning from the K-12 system. So my final message is that Epstein sets a perfect foundation stage for us, where she is great at laying it out and saying it's integral for parents to be involved. We need to continue that. Fullen supports that in keeping parents involved. But we as college administrators should not be saying to parents when they arrive at the gates of college, you shall not pass. We need to let them in. We need to include them. We need to navigate what that looks like and how that looks. But we also can do that in effective ways. And thank you all for taking a moment to review this video, and I hope you found it helpful.